Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I want to talk about a bigger perspective, not only about crypto, because we need to look around us and we need to realize that something is going on, as you probably observed, and we need to see and we need to speculate maybe how our lives will change or would change, and what is this about and how it will affect the market, and crypto is also included in that. Probably you already realized that I'm talking about the Russian invasion, and I just wanted to make a small statement here. I think that the Russian invasion is not about the Ukrainian people, and it has almost nothing to do with Ukraine. Now I know that this opinion will not be popular, so let me explain. I think the US provoked out this invasion by Russia. And if you don't believe me, and you shouldn't believe me, go and check the contracts which were made when the USSR was dissoluted and the West promised that they will not going to expand to the East, meaning that they will not have, I don't know, rocket launchers and towers which could reach Moscow. Now that didn't happen because, as we know, the NATO is already in Romania at the Black Sea. And if they would, let's say, conquer Ukraine, then they would be very, very close to Moscow already, which obviously Russia didn't want. The other thing which is very important is money, because for war you need three things: money, money, and money. Now, the US wants to sell more crude oil, more natural gas. And at this moment, Russia is the biggest exporter of natural gas in the world and the third biggest of crude oil. Obviously, this is not good for the West economy because they cannot sell to Europe. We know that Europe entirely uses Russian gas. Therefore, they didn't even cut it off. Yes, sanctions are there, and they cut Russia off from the SWIFT economy, so on, and the market crashed, but we are still using their gas. And when they cut it off, we will face huge inflation, huge energy costs, and that is something which will eventually come if this doesn't end. Now, there are other aspects to this as well. Because right now we are watching also China and Taiwan. Now, if China attacks Taiwan to make sure that Taiwan is non-existent anymore, and probably you know that China is not a friendly country, and I'm sure that US will need to respond to both of these invasions or wars. That would start the World War III, which needs these three things: the money, the money, and the money. But from where they will get some money? Well, obviously they are going to print it. And before we go into that, I wanted to show you something which is very important. Many people think that the Russian economy is in trouble because the market crashed. Well, that's not entirely true. And I will tell you why. As you can see, the Russia's national debt in relation to the GDP is 18%, somewhere there, between 17 and 20. Now, if you compare it to the US national debt, that is 130. What that means? It means that Russia, if they wouldn't have any expenses for 2 months, meaning that they would tighten the belt very much, they could just pay back their debts in 2 months. Whereas US should tie the belt for 1 year and 3 months to pay back the debt, meaning that US probably will never pay back their debt, and they will, let's say, be in the IMF's and other countries like China's pocket all the time. So that would be very interesting to see how the US would react if China would attack Taiwan. As I mentioned before, Russia already is the biggest exporter of natural gas and crude oil, and they are continuing to do so right now to Europe because, yeah, the whole system relies on that. And honestly, in Eastern Europe and also West Europe, if Russia would cut off the natural gas, well, we would be freeze. It's lucky that the summer is coming, but it's still debatable from where we would get hot water. So here comes the question: if Russia would cut off the natural gas, or maybe Europe cuts off and they don't really want Russian natural gas anymore, and the gas would be, let's say, transported from or supplied by the West, and it would be like 40% more expensive. And then in a couple of months, the friendly relationship with the Russians would be reinstated. How much we would pay to the Russians for their gas? Well, they wouldn't go back to the original price, obviously. So there is a very, very big motivation in the background for Russia to raise the gas prices. Because yes, in a short time, probably they could get back the money from us, what they spent on the war. war, invasion. And by the way, all the money which they spend now on the invasion is coming from Europe anyways. So somehow Europe is financing this war. But let's go forward and let's see what would happen to the real estate. Because in case of war, there will be a lot of migration. A lot of people would flee some of the countries and would go to another country. Therefore, you would think that maybe the real estate prices will soar and would go up because there is a lot of people who want to buy. But I'm not sure if they would have any money. And in the meantime, the energy costs are rising. We know that the petrol's price is just in the skies already. It's around 2 euros in Germany, and also in Romania is reaching the 2 euros, but the salaries are not comparable. Therefore, I don't see that people would be able to buy a house. Usually, when everything starts, when the economy is in rising and reaches a peak. Okay, this is our peak. This is where we are right now, if we are there, but we are near. After that, a small decline starts. Why? Because people don't have money. Now, when people don't have money, or they start not to have money because they have high expenses, then the banks will start not to give credit to people for mortgages because they know that the people will not be able to pay it back. Then what happens? Well, it's very easy. There is no money in the market. People cannot afford to buy back or to buy houses. Therefore, there is a big supply on the market without any demand. So the prices will go down until it reaches a peak when all the things will start to normalize. Meaning that somehow people get used to how much they have to pay. The salaries will go up a bit, and banks will realize that since they don't really give out any credits, they cannot make money with it. Therefore, they will start to give some money, and they will just acknowledge that people are tightening their belts and they are used to this new situation when they cannot spend as much as they want, but they still want to buy houses. And that is when people start to buy, and the housing market will start to go up. The salaries will start to catch up a bit. They will never catch up to the prices, but they will start to catch up a bit. And people will be able to get more mortgage, to get more credit. Banks will give out more and more money, and that will be the supply shock and the boom in the price of the real estates. So what is important and what I'm waiting for, obviously, you have to be very vigilant when to buy. You have to be brave, obviously, and you want to make sure that you can pay back your credit. Obviously, anybody who can buy real estate with cash, that's the best, but it always makes sense to buy with credit, especially if you want to rent it out. Because what I didn't mention, when the big migration is coming, a lot of people are coming into one of the countries, they will not have money to buy real estate, but they will probably have some money, or they will get some help to rent. Therefore, the rent prices will go up. That is for rent. And that is when people with cash will buy real estate to give it out as rent. Now, if you manage, or somebody manages to buy in this zone, that is the best, even if it's going down, because eventually it will turn back. The best is if you can buy it with credit, because let's say you have enough money for one house, but why not buy two with credits, right? Because obviously you have to put some money in it from your own. Therefore, you can rent it out. That house will produce some money, even if it produces enough to pay back the debt or to pay back the bank mortgage. That is already enough, because in the meantime, if the market turns, the house price will start to appreciate. Therefore, it will give you not only a profit, but the house, renting it out, will just produce enough money back for you to pay it out. So I hope this is understandable, and let me know in the comments about what you think, but we will go forward because we need to discuss what will happen in the stock market and in the crypto market. Now, usually when there was a war, and the last war was World War II from 41 to 44, I know that everyone remembers, there was a big shock, market shock. What happened then? Well, it was announced that the Germans started to invade Poland, so on. The market just crashed. But what happened there? Since they needed a lot of money to fuse into the war, they started to print a lot of dollars. What happens when you print a lot of dollars? Obviously, inflation starts to go up. Therefore, who was the biggest gainer in these in this period of time, because that is the most important. The biggest gainer was who had cash somewhere here, who had the courage to buy in. Because yes, the first shock is always a big one, but after that the economy starts to recover, because people will just say that, okay, I will invest something, I will invest in this asset because it is very cheap and probably it will go up. I mean, it cannot go to zero. Gold will never go to zero. It will never go to the moon either, but it will stay somewhere. And be careful with gold, because gold had a 40% down and up in 10 years, and I wouldn't want to wait 10 years until my investment goes back to zero. That is for sure. I would rather lose it all in 2 years. But the biggest gainers were those who could invest here. So here comes what you should have: crypto or not crypto, or cash, because cash is always king, except when you hold it for a long time and the inflation is killing its value. Now let's go and see what will happen to crypto, because as you know, we don't have any crypto data from the war, and right now Bitcoin is pretty low. It's down, it's at 39,000, and we can't see any capitulation right now. I know that last week I said that I don't think that it will go below 40k. It went. It is what it is. I think that should be a proof to you that you should never believe your YouTuber, because we don't know what will happen. We are just speculating, and everybody else, and you are speculating as well. Now, if there is a big market shock, which already happened, by the way, and that is, here is the German one, and we have the S&P 500, and it is the same with the Dow Jones, so on, so on. It might be possible that at one time we will start to bottom out, but the news, what is happening and what is about to happen, is still not enough to know for sure. You can never know for sure, but to have an educated guess, that is the most important. Therefore, what I'm waiting is right now whether there will be further developments with Russia and the US and NATO and China and Taiwan or not. Because if they reach some kind of an agreement, and that agreement could be that Ukraine will accept that Crimean Peninsula is part of Russia from now on, as it is from 2014, by the way, and that the gas prices will, I don't know, go up by 15, 20% or 40% as Russia demands, so they can recover their money, and all the sanctions will be deleted, as they will. You can be sure about that, because at one point the energy will not be enough without Russia. The market will start to go up again, and that is why it is a good idea, I think, and that is only my opinion, not financial advice, to have some assets and some cash. I don't think that it is anytime advised to have only crypto, or to have only stocks, or to have only cash. The system can go down anytime, and it is always a good thing to have a buy-in, to have some capital to buy in, and to make sure that you can dollar cost average. So pay attention to what is going to happen in the future, in the next couple of months, because the market could be turbulent. Nobody can ever know where we are going to go, where the crypto market is going to go, or the stock market, or the real estate. And the trading analysis usually cannot foresee these kind of black swan events. Therefore, for me, I'm gonna stay with some cash and with some assets. I'm not gonna sell my crypto because I have it staked, and eventually it will go up, whether that be in 3 months or 3 years. I'm not going to sell any of my stocks because I don't have that much money in that, and yeah, I can always dollar cost average, and I don't need to invest too much money. But I do have a chunk of cash which I'm having set apart in case a very, very big dump is happening on the market, so I can buy in, because when everything is in red, that is where I want to buy, and that is where I think it's the best to buy. So I hope that I could help you a bit with this video. If you have any questions, put it in the Q&As, and maybe I will make a video where I answer all of them. I don't want to scare you. I don't think that we should be scared, and a good trader, somebody who invests, is always waiting for the crash, because you will not see big opportunities when everything is peaking. That is when you are expecting the crash. So if there is a big dump in everything, that is our sign. Take care.